If you're a Teachers Pay Teachers seller and you are wanting to make sure that your products rank, meaning when someone goes to TPT and searches, then your product is found and purchased, then this episode is for you. I have with me today Colleen Swanzey, who is the owner of Seller Spy, an SEO tool made specifically for TPT sellers. She's been selling on TPT for over 4 years and developed Seller Spy in 2023. Colleen is passionate about helping sellers increase product views with data, keyword selection, and product optimization. She's a wife, mother to 4 girls, and a nonstop maker of things. And we cover a lot about how to make sure that your titles allow your products to rank in search, which is super important if you want to make sales. I have personally been using Seller Spy over the past 4 months to update every product in my store, and I'm seeing an increase in views and sales. So you don't want to miss this episode. Let's get started. Welcome back, everyone, to the Digital Product Mama podcast. I'm your host, Lindsay Bowden, and I have with me today Colleen Swanzey, who is the creator of Seller Spy, which, if you don't know what Seller Spy is, it's an awesome tool made just for teacher sellers on TPT, which we'll talk about. But welcome, Colleen. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So tell everyone a little bit about yourself.
Sure. My name is Colleen. I am a TPT seller. I am like you said, I'm the owner of Seller Spy, which is a keyword research tool that I made just for TPT sellers. I have a corporate background, so I'm not a teacher like most of you guys, but my husband's a teacher, my mom's a teacher, so I definitely know the whole teaching world. But I come with a corporate background, and that's where kind of like my love for data comes. In the past, like 10 years, really focused on digital marketing, SEO, and data analysis. So that's kind of my background and my unique experience that I use to bring Seller Spy to everybody.
Awesome. So you said you're a TPT seller, and that's kind of where Seller Spy was born. So tell us a little bit about your store and then what gap you saw in the market that led you to create Seller Spy.
So when I started my store, I'm currently still the leader of a Girl Scout troop. There's 11 fifth graders, and they are very fun, creative, and talkative. But I started my store because I was having trouble when the girls went from daisies to brownies, and I was like looking for resources, and I realized I was like, I kind of want to make something to help leaders like myself. So I started a store in 2021, and then about a year later, I was like, how can I make more, how can I get better views and more sales from these products? And I realized I was missing some keywords and I was not utilizing all the characters at my disposal in the title. And as soon as I made that update, my views and my sales went up about 250%. So I was just looking, I made like 300 or something dollars those first 12 months. And then I forget, it was in the thousands the next, full 12 months. So I was like, okay, this is something. So I was looking for keyword research tools, SEO tools specific for TPT, because for Etsy there's lots of different options like eRank that I had been familiar with, and I couldn't find one that really fit my needs. Then I don't know, I must have been a little delusional because I was like, okay, I'll just build it, and but I used that corporate experience to build a tool that I thought would be helpful for sellers like me.
Yeah, and it is so needed. Like you said, there aren't any TPT specific SEO tools other than yours. And for those that don't know, TPT, they have their own search engine algorithm. And so it's not like Google, it's not like Pinterest, it's their own. So we really needed something that was specific for us, and Seller Spy really meets that need. So you're passionate about using data to drive business decisions. Can you share why that's so important for TPT sellers?
Sure. So one of the things that I think is a little unique coming from a corporate background and my experience in the corporate world, I was able to see all different parts of a business. And therefore, when I look at my TPT store, I do kind of view it more so as a business and making those decisions based on what's going to get me a couple steps further. I think most of us make products because we're passionate about a specific subject or topic. We want to help others, but sometimes we're not making the best decisions about either what products to make or how to market them. And I think that's where the data piece comes really into play, especially when TPT is probably more competitive now than it ever has been. You have people, like me from the corporate world selling on TPT, but, there's just so many great products. How do you make sure you stand out? And that's what I really want to do with Seller Spy, is give them the tools and the data to title their products, to make products that are going to get views and show up on pages or one or two where you can really get those views and start making some sales.
Yeah, I feel like because teachers are so passionate about making like quality resources for the kids and for other teachers,
Mhm.
they forget like this is a business. And if you're going to spend your precious time creating these amazing resources, then you want it to get found in search.
Yep.
And that's how you make the sales. I always say there's kind of two things that really count. It's the title, because that's how you get pulled up when someone
Mhm.
searches a resource. And then the cover photo, that's how you kind of stop the scroll. And so if you
Mhm.
get those two things right, you can really turn this not just into like, my little side hustle, but a real business that can create real income.
Yep.
So it's really important to look at the data and use the data to make decisions. So you created Seller Spy, and I have been using Seller Spy for the past 4 months to update every single title in my store, and I'm already seeing a very big increase in views and sales. I'm actually going to have another episode about all the things that I've done to update my TPT store in a couple of weeks, but I'm really excited about the title analyzer tool because that's the main tool that I've been using to update my title. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. And the basis of Seller Spy, we have the keyword specific data, but what the title analyzer tool does and what's so great is that it opens sellers' eyes to like what your title actually does and what the keywords within your title are. So it takes your title and it matches every single combination that it can find to our database. And I'm really excited. We're almost at 100,000 keywords in our database. So within that database, we're trying to find as many combinations as possible, and we're showing you kind of what you're optimized for, what are some additional options based on the words you have for phrasing, and then how many high, medium, and low competition keywords you have. And I think that's to me like something that we new sellers need to know the most. I'm trying to teach them through this that if you have a new store, especially if you have a new product, you need to start optimizing your product with keywords that are going to get you seen because you're not going to be able to compete with some of these legacy sellers that have been on there for years
Yeah.
for some of these really, really high competition keywords.
Yeah.
Uh, so that's really what the title analyzer hopes to do. And hopefully it's working and people are seeing the benefits.
Yeah, I see this a lot, especially with new sellers, because they don't know. So they'll title their resource like sight words activity. And it's like you're
Prove it
not
with
gonna
heaven.
rank for that, you know? You gotta get more specific. You have to
Mhm.
think about, maybe is it Valentine's Day or is it for a specific grade level or is it a specific type of sight word, like long A or whatever. And that really opened my eyes when I started using the title analyzer. And I also like the keyword generator. I think that one is a great tool as well. Just kind of thinking through, well, this is what I might search or I might call my resource, but what might other teachers call this or what are they searching for? And just some different keywords that I had never thought of popped up. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that. And when I started changing my titles to include those, man, I mean, I have already seen just in a couple of months an increase in views and sales, which I
Oh,
love.
it's great. For your titles, just diving, like, especially for new sellers, some of the things that come up a lot, especially, a lot of us are in all these groups and we kind of see a lot of new sellers reaching out. Hey, can someone look at my store? Can someone look at this product? Give
Yeah.
me some feedback. And these are really the things that I come across the most, other than choosing super competitive keywords, is not utilizing those 80 characters. That's a big miss. And that was something that I did, I'm guilty of when I first started my store. And we have to think about it like those 80 characters, don't think of it as keyword stuffing if you're using different words to describe your product. What you're doing is you're telling TPT what your product's about, and it's also giving TPT more knowledge and more different keyword combinations to show your product for when a customer is searching. And that's also what the title analyzer will do is like shows you those combinations. So if you're adding more descriptive words, you're giving TPT more option to show your. So
Yeah.
that's a big one, using those characters. And then obviously mixing in those low, medium, and high competition that we talked about. We want to make sure that new product gets those small wins. You need those initial views and sales to start accumulating those follows, get those ratings, which will eventually just help your product and your store as a whole. And then the last one is really don't be afraid of changing up your title, especially if it's not working. Again, another thing I was guilty of. I just like was like set it and forget it for 12 months. And then I was like, maybe I should try something. There are so many keywords and there's new keywords every day that are coming up that teachers are using. So always, revisit like you're doing, revisit some old products that you had posted. Let's see if you can be more competitive and get more views using different combination of words.
Do you think quarterly is kind of a good
Yeah.
timeline for updating titles?
Yeah, I think quarterly is fine, at least twice a year. At least, making sure you have your data points to see how many views you get at different times of the year. Obviously, it's very, TPT and teacher searching is very seasonal. But yeah, keeping an eye on those numbers and at least doing them twice a year.
And you think views is the best way to determine if a title is working or not? I feel like that would be true.
But that's what I go for. Like you said, like you want to stop the scroll, you want them to click on your product. From there, one of the things that coming from my corporate career, I kind of worked in an HR capacity where we would talk about it was a call center company. So it was very high volume applications. And what we would do is we would look, okay, your first step is getting them to view your job posting. The next step is getting them to apply. So really what you're doing with your title and your cover preview is we're getting them on that page to view your product. From there, once you get those views, then you can work on your product description, work on, kind of some additional copy to convert them into a sale. But the first thing you need to do is get them to view your product.
Right. I do think that making sure that I've been using the title analyzer gives you like you said the low competition keywords. I've been
Mhm.
using those in my description as well, like the first
Yep.
snippet, and that can help you also show up. But if you're not showing up in the search, you're never going to get the view. So that's really like Colleen said, the first step. Okay, so making sure we use all 80 characters, making sure we're using those low competition keywords for especially for new products, and then revisiting and not just setting and forgetting. I think those are really good tips. If a TPT seller could only track one or two key data points to improve their store, what would you recommend?
For me, the main one is views, like we talked about. I think that's really going to tell you whether or not you're getting seen and whether or not you have more optimization to do. After that, I do look at conversion, I think, because that's the next step, right? When we talked about, get them on your page, then what's next? It's like if they're on their page and they're not checking out, then you need to beef up that product description. So I think those are the two main ones. And obviously I would prioritize views first. And then once you get those views coming in, then it's the product description. And then from there, I mean, if you're not converting, it's either you're not doing a good job selling in your product description, or maybe the product is missing the mark for the keywords that you're targeting.
Yeah, that's a good point too. And
Yeah.
then thumbnails and preview, making sure you're using those
Yeah.
two, that can also affect conversion. But I do find, especially now that TPT is more competitive and people are understanding SEO and keywords more, sometimes people are using keywords that don't necessarily match the product. That's not a good strategy. You want to make sure that like if someone is searching for, Valentine's Day math maze, if you use that keyword, you want to make sure that's an actual Valentine's Day math maze because just because you're seen doesn't mean that that's what people want, and that means you're not going to get the conversion, which is what we
Yeah.
really want, right? We want the
Yeah.
money.
And that's where kind of we hope that, no one knows what the TPT algorithm is. There's lots of speculation. Obviously, we know keywords have a big part of it. We do hope that conversion is part of it. So if people are falling off at that step and not checking out because the product isn't exactly what is in the title, we hope that TPT is taking that into consideration when they're
Right.
ranking products. Fingers crossed,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Okay, I just want to talk about Seller Spy a little bit more and just allow the listeners to kind of see, I know there's a free version and there's a paid version, kind of what's the
Mhm.
difference? How can they get started?
You can sign up for a free account, and with the free account, just with email and login, and you'll be able to access our keyword generator. And what that is, that's a real-time keyword research tool. So it's kind of like the TPT search bar on steroids. If there are 10 suggestions for a term that you put in there, it'll give you 10 suggestions. It'll give you a relative popularity score. So it's compared to other, it's relative as far as like if this one's 100 and this one's 50, 100's more popular. It'll give you how many products are optimized for that keyword, and kind of like a stoplight system. It'll show you like green, green if it's popular and not competitive. So it gives you some analysis, pinpoint the best keyword. So that for you get 10 searches a day for the free account, unlimited if you sign up for our basic plan. But the other free product is a product rank checker, and you can put in any keyword and your product URL, and it'll tell you whether or not you are on the first 5 pages. So it's a free tool so you can kind of see where you land for a specific keyword. So those are the two free tools that you can access. And then the paid tools have the title analyzer, obviously unlimited keyword generator searches, but it also has the keyword explorer. Keyword explorer is pretty cool because it has our 10,000 keyword database that you can kind of really go through and find those golden keywords, those really great low competition keywords with a lot of popularity. Oh, there's also trends, so you can see month over month trends for keywords. I could go on and on. You can save keyword lists. And actually, when you talked about, doing analysis of seeing what other people are using in their titles, that was the first tool I created when I created Seller Spy. It's called Keyword Insights. If you put a keyword, it'll tell you what other people are using on the first page. Because sometimes, like me, again, guilt. This is because I was my first customer. I needed this product because I was making these mistakes, but
Yeah,
it showed me what keywords I was missing, and that's the Keyword Insights tool.
I love that. And we'll put the link for Seller Spy down below so that you can click it and sign up. I definitely think that the paid version is worth it, especially if you have started to make some sales, you can reinvest that money. And remember, like if you're going to treat this like a business, businesses require investments. And I think this is very much a great investment for a TPT business because this is how you get found. This is how you make conversions. So I love that. Anything else you want to add about Seller Spy or titles before we wrap this up? This is so informative.
It's just been fun. I mean, the one thing I will say, I really do love data and I love solving these puzzles. And that's kind of what Seller Spy was to me at the beginning. I was like, how do I make this platform? And now I just really love hearing from sellers when they have a tough product that they're trying to get in front of people, reach out to me. I love just send me a product. Like, what do you think? I love brainstorming and troubleshooting some of these things. So if you need keyword help, don't hesitate to reach out.
I love that. And this just kind of popped into my mind, but I wonder if sellers, especially if they're kind of struggling with what do I make next, maybe they could use one of these tools and find a low competition keyword and then make a
Definitely.
product for that keyword.
To me, that's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Again, we sometimes get so excited about we have an idea, but it's nice when there's a demand there too. So sometimes just
Exactly.
having that data before you start brainstorming product ideas is the best move.
Yeah, it's the market research right there for you without having
Mhm.
to like ask other teachers or get into Facebook groups, which can, sometimes get results, but sometimes not. So
Yep.
you actually have hard data there to show, yes, people want this, so make it.
Yep. Exactly.
I love that. Awesome. Well, Colleen, I always ask my guests this. What is one act of generosity that you have done or plan to do? It can be personal or business related.
Well, business related, like I said, I love hearing from sellers and just helping them out. Really, I don't even check, I don't even know if they're subscribers or not. I just love doing that research and getting into the data. That's one thing. And then the other thing is just, you know, Girl Scouts and Girl Scout troop leading. And actually this past weekend I was sleeping on the floor of an aquarium with my troop and a whole bunch of other troops from my town and just giving back and just leading these girls and getting to know them has been the best. So
I
yeah.
love that. My husband, he did Boy Scouts all growing up,
Yeah.
so he's excited for our kids to do that when they're old enough. So I love that. That's such a good way to be a good role model for
Yeah.
kids. Love it. Well, thank you so much, Colleen. Tell people where they can find you. What's the best way to reach out if they want to talk to you about a keyword? And like I said, we'll put the Seller Spy link in the show notes
Sure.
below.
Yeah. So sellerspy.co. And then my email is Colleen@sellerspy.co. And you can also find me on Instagram. I'm not super active over there, but that's at sellerspyco.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Colleen. This has been awesome. And we'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Thanks, Lindsay.